to me, the Black Orchid is crazy. I sprayed it one time when I was going out, and when I came back to the crib, the whole crib smelled like floral.
Oh yeah.
In the morning.
Yep. Oh yeah.
In the morning, bro. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Arccway, a new direction of a modern man. I'm here with Zach, and we are just gonna chop it up. Actually, we're gonna go talk about colognes and the background of colognes, and he's gonna give us his insight regarding colognes and just the nature of it. So we're here to help you guys. Most importantly, Zach's gonna help you guys pick out the right colognes. Define and decide which one works best for you based on your needs. And that's pretty much it.
All right, guys, so my name is Zach. I'm an LVMH specialist, and one thing I specialize in the most is good fragrances for better lads.
Okay, what my insight to colognes is, sometimes guys just don't know what to, grab or what cologne to best start off with. Out these colognes here, how do you define what's best? How does one define what's best for a cologne?
Well, I mean, it really depends on what you want for the fragrance. I know most people want to leave a memorable impression everywhere they go.
Oh, yeah,
and it's all about being remembered and having, stepping into a room and someone saying, wow, that's Mr.Lu's scent or that's Zach's scent, you never want to blend in. You want to stand out. So, I mean, we've got, all these fragrances here, and they've been hand selected so that you can stand out and tried, true, and tested. But I'd say first things first, what makes you stand out is a scent that not everyone's wearing, but at the same time, it's killer on you. And the way to know it's good on you is it has to stay sweet on the skin. So you test drive it on your hand. You see, it's just like buying a car. You have to test drive it. You don't look at it and say, oh, I like how it looks, and buy that Ford and drive off the lot.
No.
You gotta test drive it. You compare it. So, I mean, you've got your Mercedes-Benz of the fragrance world here, and then you've got your Audis and your BMWs right over here too. So you test drive them all, you see what works, you go in the field, you see how you like them. But I mean, there's such a big selection out there when you say step into the Hudson's Bay, Renfrew, wherever their fragrance is being sold. So I mean, the way to link yourself to your fragrance first, and I would say don't go online and look up top 10 lists, because these things, they're all very biased. Brands go and they buy them out.
Oh, okay.
They want to, I've seen quite a few lists where it's one ownership of a brand. And if you want to know about all the big owners of all these brands, it's really, so LVMH owns quite a few.
Okay.
BPI owns Dolce & Gabbana. L'Oreal Paris, they own Yves Saint Laurent. And, Coty Canada owns Gucci and all those. So, I mean, some of these fashion and fragrance houses are two separate things. Yeah. And it's important to know what you're wearing, because, you're wearing, let's say, I'm going to pick on Gucci. You wear a Gucci fragrance and you're wearing, let's say, a Gucci shirt and Gucci shoes. Two separate things. So when you wear the fragrance, you're wearing something that's owned by Coty Canada. When you wear the fashion, you're wearing something that is owned by Kering. So Kering is the brand that is, high quality control, very prestige. Yeah. And, you're wearing the Gucci fragrance thinking it's Gucci. It's not. It's like driving an Acura with the Honda badge on it, which you don't want to do, right? I mean, of course they have some nice scents, but you can't, it's not the same.
Yeah, for sure. So it seems like when you're picking out your cologne, it's kind of figuring out, is it notes, right? It's about notes. And then that's the degree of the cologne?
Yeah, so the notes, and with all good fragrance, it's like a fragrance pyramid. So you look at it, your top note, your heart note, and your base note. So most people, when they smell a fragrance, their first initial thing is they smell the top notes, and especially on the blotter on the paper. So when you smell the top notes, you get a good sense of the fragrance. But true good fragrance, and like quite a few of these here, when you spray them on your hand and you smell, let's say 3 hours later, different scent, and that is what you're looking for, because fragrance is not supposed to last 30 minutes. It's supposed to be a full day wear, and you want to make sure that full day it's drying down to the best of the best, not just some average, faint, it has to stand out.
Yeah, of course.
So, I mean,
so so the first 3 hours is the top fragrance smell of that, the traditional cologne.
First 30 minutes.
Yeah, first 30 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
So say for I know the 1 million.
You're a busy guy, you can't miss a moment.
You can't miss the moment.
Yeah.
So yeah, colognes. When it comes down to the notes, so my understanding of the notes is there's different degrees, and like just like you said, there's the 30-minute window of the top note. So
yes. So
we say this.
Yeah. So let's use Creed Aventus. So this is my number one pick. This is my absolute favorite fragrance. And when it's sprayed on the skin, you get the first 30 minutes, you get that pineapple opening. It's like smoky citrus, so oak moss really is in there too. That's more of a heart note. But when it dries down, this fragrance here, and what it's known for, let's say even 5 hours after you wear it the next morning when you wake up and you smell it lingering, it's the heart note and the base note. So the birch, the oak moss, the ambergris, everything in this fragrance, all their base notes are what makes it the king. So its top note is very fresh, but when it dries down, it's completely different. And that's what makes Creed Aventus stand out so much. And like I said, I would say your heart note and your base notes are the most important thing when you try on a fragrance, because those are what's going to be projecting those, after that 30-minute mark. That's all you're going to be smelling. Sure. So it must be potent. It must be projecting. Your sillage must be big. And of course, you'd want to smell it on yourself too.
So and when you say the base notes, okay. So I'm trying to understand. So what's the 3 points you put the cologne on? Like, is it on the wrist? Is it on the neck? Is it where does a guy go? You know what I mean? They're trying to get into it. Where do they start? Like, how do they apply the cologne?
There's many different spots where guys will put on a fragrance. Yeah. I mean, from my experience, I watch a ton of videos, and I've even tested Creed Aventus on multiple different, locations on my neck and chest and all that to see where it booms the most. Yeah. A modern misconception is people think that it must be sprayed on the clothing. Never do that, because if you spray it on your clothes, there's no oil concentration, there's no skin. It has to react on your hand, and it has to dry down. There is no dry down factor on the clothing. And if you look at both of our shirts, unless we're wearing the new Dior 2020, summer couture, I don't think they introduced veins into their clothing. Until veins with blood are introduced into the clothing, which will never happen, it must be sprayed on parts of the body that warm up through blood flow. And my top spots to spray are, seriously, if you want to smell it on yourself throughout the day, is underneath the ears, right here where the arteries are. Okay. So that's 2 spots. You can spray right here, kind of where your neck meets your chest. Yep. That's just kind of when someone gives you a hug, it'll, your shirt will hold on to some heat, and it'll just mix that heat, and it'll just kind of shoot out there too. Another good spot to put them is the 2 spots behind the neck. So the artery that runs here, and then on the other side. So if I were to wear any fragrance, seriously, you do 4, in my personal opinion. Some guys will take it an extra step if they find the fragrance just isn't that strong in projection. So they will spray, in the arms here. But me personally, the crook of the arm is a bit safer if you're wearing a short sleeve. If you're wearing a long sleeve, don't do it. But I would say the hands, like spraying on this location here, is more for testing it out, not for projection, just because the veins aren't projecting here. But I would say, the hands aren't a bad spot. I see a lot of people, and it makes me laugh at work, they'll spray it into the palm of their hand and they'll smell like this, and I don't know, I gotta...
Isn't the classic way you spray in the hands and then you pat around the neck as well? Isn't it?
So the whole
doing the movies,
so the whole dab, aspect, right? And you don't want to dab because Clemson dabbed, they lost, and a couple other teams hit the dab and they lost. So we don't want to dab. We don't want to lose when we step into the field. Okay. So what we want to do is, you rub the fragrance, you take away your top notes, you ruin it, and you kill its longevity. It must last on the skin. So what I do, I spray it, I let it soak, and I let it just kind of drip down my neck. I don't really care. It's going to spread. The last thing you want to do is spray and then completely miss your neck and think you hit it. So, you put it, I'd say about decently close, right about here, and you spray, you get a nice concentrated patch on the artery or the vein, and you just let it soak. When people dab, a lot of fragrances, and let's pick on Creed, for example. See this thing here, the atomizer? Okay. Yeah. So the atomizer was something that was newer, I would say, in the 1980s, 1990s, because originally fragrance was just more of an oil that you would dab on your hand, and you'd have to use your hand to put it on. The atomizer was made so that way you don't have to touch it and interfere with it. So it's just an easy application. So it would be like in my comparison to the car world, putting automatic braking on a car so you don't have to brake if you're not looking. So it's just like, you know.
So
like,
you don't use too much or too less, right?
It controls how much you spray, you know what you're using, and you know how much you're putting on.
Exactly.
You don't want to do a dab and it'll spill on your hand because you're looking at something else and you're in a rush and there goes your fragrance, right? So, and you don't want to put too much on either.
So my question is, like, what makes a good cologne and a bad cologne? Because there's obviously tons of smells of cologne.
Yeah.
It's a wide range.
So when I'm in the, say for example, when I do a shift in the Bay or I go to Holt Renfrew, there's so many different brands, so many different price points, and what really sets them apart for me and my nose is a new unique scent, something that doesn't smell mass, it doesn't smell like everything else. So once it hits my nose and I'm like, wow, this is different, but I can see it's very appealing, then it's time for a test drive on my hand, right? So, I mean, there's so many different ones, and obviously, you know, you can look at your top 10 and see, you know, Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue or Chanel Blue on there, but, I mean, the thing that really stands out is, you know, when you smell it, and you're not sure about it, but you bring it to your nose multiple times with the fragrance on the card, right? That's how you know your brain is kind of intrigued by the scent, and you're just like, wow, you know, what is this, right? If I smell it and I kind of put it down and I don't want to smell it another time, my brain didn't really care for it, right? So
it kind of has to be like pleasant to the nose, and then that's
pleasant and different, yes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because like last thing you want to do is blend in into a crowd, you know, feel like all your friends that are wearing the same one, because there's no point. If you want to smell the same as everyone else, it's going to give no reaction, because, you know, pretty girl's going to walk by and she's going to be like, oh wow, you all smell great, but I mean, like, you don't stand out, you know?
Who's she talking about?
Yeah, right? Which one, right? Who does she want, right? So,
it's true.
So I mean, I can give you an example. So, you know, before I was introduced to this brand Creed here, which really caught my nose, you know, there was those scents that everyone used to wear. Like I said, Dolce & Gabbana Light Blue, you know, Versace Eros and all that. And, you know, they were nice, right? But I mean, when I smell, let's say this one, for example, even Green Irish Tweed, these are two fragrances that they're so complex in scent, they're so different, but at the same time, they are so appealing to the nose, even through wearing it, you know, to work or anywhere, right? And, you know, once I found out how, you know, I even put them on my hand, I was like, oh my God, like, you know, the longevity was just unbelievable, right? You know, smell it the next morning and you're truly just like, wow, like, I've never experienced something like this. Like, it truly changed me.
It like resonated, really.
So,
holy shit.
I mean, so you want that to happen. So, I guess, as you can see here, we have, you know, a great selection of fragrance, and these are some of my personal favorites. You don't need to bust, you know, out your wallet and, you know, spend all this money on a thing of Creed and break the bank. But I mean, you want to smell different. You truly want to stand out. You know, I know so many guys that spend so much money on, you know, a Gucci tracksuit or a Louis Vuitton belt. But you know what? Those things, they may be flashy and someone may look at them and say, oh, wow, he looks good in that. But when you're just sitting there at the bar, you're going out, and your fragrance is just, you know, shooting off the neck, and it's so different. Someone walks by and she's just like, wow, what are you wearing, right? The fragrance did all the talking for you. You know, that Louis belt doesn't do any talking. It's just flash, right?
I hear you.
Yeah, you want your fragrance to be your wingman.
That makes so much sense, because, like you said, you don't need to spend like exuberant amount of money when you have the cologne to really accentuate who you are as a person, or who you just want to become, essentially.
Absolutely.
So if someone was new to getting the colognes, like many guys out there, price point budget, where do they start? So guy in his high school years, you only spend like $100.
Yeah, so I mean, in high school, there was no way I was wearing Creed until like grade 12. You know, towards the end of that, I bit the bullet. I bought the Creed because I was like, you know what, I want to be remembered for just a fantastic scent. So I mean, before I did that, I obviously had to experience some of the better ones in the mass market. So Dior Sauvage, this one here, fantastic release. The perfumer Francois Demaché did a beautiful job blending the fragrance. You know, it's a fresh bergamot and grapefruit opening. It breaks down to more of, I'd say, an amberoxan, smoky citrus and fruit with a cold steel accord base note. So, you know, very well blended. The nose initially cannot tell what is in it, but I've known every time it's been sampled at work or I've worn it, you know, people said, wow, you smell fantastic. Now, my only complaint with this is so many guys wear it. So how can I be unique if, you know, anyone can go to the Bay and buy this? And you know what I mean? So that's why I went to Creed. But I mean, Before that phase, it was this one here. This one here, the Givenchy Gentleman. So both these fragrances, anything by Dior or Givenchy, they're owned by Louis Vuitton. So if we know Louis Vuitton, we know their prestige, we know their quality, and these guys are not going to put a subpar fragrance out with ingredients that don't soak and, you know, have a good longevity and depth, right?
Makes sense.
And a lasting
Makes
impression.
Yeah.
So your Gentleman one here, one of my personal favorites for you know, a newer release, especially a winter wear.
Yeah.
And I find too, when I'm at the bar, a lot of guys are smoking cigarettes. So someone's smoking cigarette, you know, the scent of smoke is lingering and it goes on your skin. You know, anything that is too citrusy in the opening will be absolutely destroyed by smoke. So you need something that has a nice vanilla base note, something that is rich and deep, like a cognac scent.
Yeah.
And you know, it's like when you pair a cigar with a drink, right?
Yeah.
It's normally paired with a cognac. The same is with this. So if you're a smoker, you like a cigar on the weekend, you want to pair it with something like this. You're the next step above. You want another one that goes good with the smoke is your Tom Ford Tuscan leather. You know, so this one here, fantastic, you know, Tuscan wine in that leather accord. So very well done. Very much complements the smell of smoke. But at the same time, both of these, extremely unique, alpha, and very, very distinct. So no one's going to smell like you.
Yeah,
You're going to stand out, and that's what
sure.
you want, right?
So how much would it be then? How much would it be price point?
Okay, so if we're looking at these three here, 122 for the Dior Sauvage Eau de Toilette in 100 ml, the bottle you see here. Givenchy Gentleman, about the same price, 124, so just a couple bones more. And then your Tom Ford, a bit more up there. It's about 400 plus tax. So, I mean, you know, we all get tax returns. We all spend like crazy sometimes.
Of course.
It's just, you know, knowing what you really need, right?
Exactly. So someone's in their college days or someone's in the high school days. A lot of young guys are watching this,
Right.
or just transitioning out of high school. Going with someone like what you just mentioned here in the Sauvage would be ideal if they're in the like $100 range.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I would say like Sauvage is always a fantastic choice. Just the number one thing is, you know, this is a very popular scent. You won't blend in to a degree, like, because some guys don't wear it. They'll wear like a 1 million or whatever. But I mean, you know, for the guys that do know about Sauvage and it is quite popular, you won't really be so distinct when you walk in the room where it's memorable. So you'll smell great. You're definitely gonna get compliments, but I mean, you want, you know, someone to smell it and be like, oh my God, like, what are you wearing? Dior typically won't be the one. But they will say you smell fantastic, and that's what you want. You want to smell good. You're not wearing fragrance to smell bad. You're wearing it to smell good. But
you know, it kind of leads me into the next one because it's obviously smelling good, different tones of melanin in the skin. So how does it work from a range of someone like me, a dark skin tone, to someone who's in the middle, and to someone who's a more fair skin? So how do you determine?
Best advice is, you know what, it doesn't matter about that. It's more just your oil concentration. Okay. So I would say just you test it on your hand and you look for these two things. If it stays sweet and if it lasts a long time. If it doesn't do those two things, don't buy it. The things you don't want to happen is it goes musky, soapy, or sour. So, I mean, those are three things that are very easy to remember for anyone that is trying on a fragrance. And, you know, if it goes soapy, sour, or musky, don't buy it. It must taste sweet. Of course, the paper compared to the skin is going to be a bit different, but they must still be congruent in scent. They must be very similar. So I would say for anyone that's looking to buy, test drive it on your hand the way you test drive a car. That is my easiest way to say it.
For sure. Yeah. For sure. Yeah, I know what. Even at Sephora, you can definitely grab a bunch of samples. Try them.
3 per client.
3 per client.
Yeah.
Or you can finesse them. There's so many.
Oh yeah.
You can finesse your shorties. You can get a few more.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely.
I'm not saying I did that. Yeah.
Right. You know, you go into Sephora, and I mean, you know, they call them. You know, they're just like. We know who they are. That samples. You know, once every other day, and keeps asking for the same one, and a couple of the and I mean the brands, I mean, they do keep track of this. They do know, because it's not Sephora that buys these testers, it is the brands that bring them in. So I mean, personally, for anything that's French couture like these, anything that's an LVMH product, they are always bringing in new bottles because they cannot have it at half. It looks terrible on the thing.
Yeah.
They always want it to be full. So you would be surprised at how many bottles are sitting about 50%.
Just sitting there.
Yeah. And they're not going to be sold. They're still good juice. It's just they have to look presentable. There's other brands that they don't really care too much about their brand presentation. So they'll kind of leave their empty bottles out. But I mean,
you know, then that being said, it's kind of like, what about expiry dates? If it's left under somewhere, expiry dates in storage. That's like something I'll ask.
So
what's the expiry date on a typical cologne?
So typically, I mean, like, because there's alcohol, which is a very good preservative, they're not going to expire for a long time. And if you look at a brand like, let's say, Creed, for example, Creed, these things are like aging a fine wine. The longer it sits in a climate that's not under sunlight, that is not in a temperature that's, you know, cold is okay, like a fridge is okay.
Yeah.
You don't want to freeze it and make it turn, you know, into ice, which can't really happen because there's alcohol. But I mean, you know, it's got to be in a spot where there's no sunlight directly on it or even too much light, like, you know, more of a darker climate, but just a more moderate, like a cigar humidor. You know, you want to just make sure it's the proper, you know, just not too warm, not too cold, just perfect balance, right?
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so you keep it in like cold storage.
Yep.
And typically, how long would it last you? Like 6 months, a year?
Oh, a while.
Really?
A long time.
I heard the clones can last you up to like, I don't know, a year or something, and then you gotta throw them out.
Now, it really...
I threw some good clones out there.
Yeah.
Shit.
You should have kept them, man.
Kept them.
Someone that was sorting through the garbage for the recycling is like, oh my god, jackpot, right?
Yeah, it's probably ex-girlfriends, man. Just threw them out, you know? That's how it is.
Yeah. Now, one thing I could say, any fragrance that has a sharp floral, so floral
sense.
One thing
interesting.
Yes, one thing I've noticed when I've smelled, let's say, you know, I'm bored at work, I'll just smell everything, even in the ladies' side. You know, a lot of the woman's fragrance, if it's a sharp floral and the fragrance is completely made up of, like, you know, roses and, you know, stuff like that, they can go sour even under preservatives. Like, I'll smell a fresh bottle compared to a tester that's been there for, let's say, a year, and there will be a bit of a difference. So that is one thing I do know for sure, and I picked that up, and it's, you know, I'll say to whoever owns the brand, hey, your tester's gone sour, right? Not to be a jerk, but it's just like, do you want to show this to a client? And then they're like, ew, I don't like this, but it actually is a good fragrance, right?
Okay. Even off shift, you're like, even off just chilling, right?
Oh,
just
yeah.
like,
Oh yeah.
Hey, your testers went sour there.
Yeah, I don't want to see anyone I work with have a bad day. So I want everyone to succeed, and it's just like, you know what? Yeah, of course I'm gonna let you know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
be honest with them, right?
Yeah, it'd be like if I didn't wear deodorant and you didn't let me know, or if I had something in my nose. You know, you better tell me. Unless you hate me, right?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
They're not real if they don't tell you.
Yeah, exactly. They have to let me know.
I was gonna say from there is when it comes down to like floral scents, how can a guy typically wear floral or not? Because I experimented with floral before and it worked, but some guys tried it and they can't. It doesn't work.
It's seriously up to your own nose, and if you're with a girl, she's the boss. You know, she's gonna tell you right away if she likes it or doesn't.
True. That's what determines guys getting colognes.
Now there is a brand for men that does do very good florals. So Kenzo. So Kenzo is an LVMH brand as well. Very good quality, but like, you know, florals, I would say, are better for a spring, summer's day. You don't wear them in cold weather because the flowers, it just doesn't perform in that, you know, type of climate.
Yeah.
When it's a bit warmer and, like, you know, let's say you're walking down the path or whatever, or you're down by the lake, a floral always complements, you know, a warmer with a bit of a cold breeze environment. But it's really up to you. Personally, I've never been a floral guy. You know, most fragrances, you know, some men's do have a couple florals in them, but not too many. But yeah, I know florals, and the one thing about florals, they can either go super sweet or super sour on the skin, so they must stay sweet. Any sour bitterness, don't ever wear it. Throw it out or donate it.
You know, it's funny because I tried floral colognes before, and I think Tom Ford was actually something that I tried, and I was just like, whoa, this is quite different, and it was on a Richter scale of maybe too much. Yeah. But it was a little bit, I was trying to figure out my balance of it.
Yeah, so I mean, Tom Ford, they did do a line, and, you know, it's, so Tom Ford, there's a couple different ones. The one you see here is their more prestige. It's their private collection.
Tuscan.
Yes, sir. So Tuscan leather, tobacco vanille, oud wood, right? Those are their top sellers.
Oud wood?
Yep.
Oh, what was it? Black Orchard as well?
Yep, so Black Orchid.
Orchid.
Yeah, I mean, dude, not that I'm a florist, but...
dude, that one, to me, the Black Orchid, it's crazy.
It's very nice.
I sprayed it one time when I was going out, and when I came back to the crib, the whole crib smelled like floral.
Oh, yeah.
In the morning.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
In the morning, bro. I was just like, what?
I know, you're like, oh my God,
Crazy.
you know? Yeah. No, Tom Ford is definitely known for its longevity and its projection, especially Black Orchid.
Yeah.
And that's actually a floral that can be worn in the wintertime because it's not just like floral fresh, it's floral with a deep note.
Wow.
You know, it's super distinct. Me personally, I've not been a fan of it myself, and I have smelt it on a variety of different people. And personally, it's just not my taste. But I mean, on the right person, you know, and it is very distinct, you will get compliments. It's really just, you know, who you're wearing it for, what you want it to do, and
occasion.
Yeah, if you love it on yourself, care about yourself first, okay? But if you want to make a lasting impression everywhere you go, maybe appeal more a bit to the masses. So what do the masses like to smell, right? So I guess so you've seen this whole collection here, and I'm gonna just kind of jump to the best ones of the collection and you know what they've done for me. So we've got Creed Aventus here, Creed Green Irish Tweed, and Creed Silver Mountain Water. So these three fragrances here are the ones from the Creed brand that have really stuck out to me. This brand was only made for royalty way back in the day. And, you know, Creed, they're known for extreme longevity, the best dry downs in the world, and some of the best projection too. So, I mean, Aventus, when sprayed 4 times, honest to God, my most complimented fragrance I've ever worn.
Really?
Yes. And it's to the point where I go shopping and someone will follow me to smell like me.
Okay, so we're talking about the Creeds, right?
Yes.
And why they're in this order, and just take me through it.
Yeah, so I mean, as you can see here, we have our beautiful bottles of Creed. We've got Aventus, the king. You've got Green Irish Tweed, which I would say was the king before Aventus launched.
Okay.
And then you've got Silver Mountain Water, which is just possibly one of my favorite scents for just more of like a more subtle, but at the same time distinct, unique, and just, you know, springtime fragrance as well, or a summer's day.
Okay.
But yeah, so Creed Aventus, this one here, so you've seen Jeremy Fragrance, you know, you've seen the guy hold it, and, you know, Erwin Creed, when he did the video with, you know, Jeremy wanted to kind of keep the ball for himself, and Erwin, he has all this money, but he couldn't even just bless Jeremy a quick one. But I know Jeremy's got his collection. One thing a lot of people say about Creed is there's a ton of different batches. Yes, there are in batches because they're all very, you know, artisan made, very, you know, just made in small batches. And yeah, the batch does matter, and you can look at the bottom for the lot number. But this batch here was the Creed 2014 release, aged like fine wine. So what makes these stand out? Superior projection, very memorable. Anywhere you go and you wear Creed, whoever you're with, if they smell it on you and they smell that dry down and they smell the projection, the first thing that they'll say when you get into the car, when you meet up with them, is, wow, you smell the best. You don't, it's not just, oh, you smell good, or you'll be like, what the hell are you wearing? You'll just seriously want to, like, I've stepped into parties and I've worn this, and, you know, even, like, guys will compliment me, and it's like, oh, shoot, you know, like, don't really want the masculine compliments, but you know what? It feels good because they're looking up to you, and they're seeing, you know, like, wow, you know, this is fantastic on you. But yeah, then when the ladies come by and they, you know, you haven't even said hey and given them a hug yet, they're like, holy shit, who's wearing that fragrance? Their nose follows the path to you. Oh man, it's just, it feels great. You know, you feel like a conqueror.
Then what makes all three of these different? So from this one to this one to the other one. So what makes them different at all?
Yeah, so
scent-wise?
This one, it's pineapple, blackcurrant, oak moss, birch, and real ambergris. So ambergris, which is found in all three of these, is the whale's vomit. Everyone's like, ew, whale's vomit. So if you're vegan, just turn off the camera and, you know, just disregard us both. Or me. But I mean, me personally, if you're in France, you're having a glass of wine by the beach, and some whale decides to puke a couple hours earlier, and that forms into a rock, and it's going through the ocean, and the sun's light is oxidizing on that rock, and it doesn't go through an oil spill, and you see this rock on the beach, and it smells so good, go take it to Creed right now. You're gonna make $75,000, and you can buy yourself a new Audi.
So that's what they grabbed.
Yes. So they have
That's crazy.
They have professional perfumers.
Wow.
They'll scout the beaches for these rocks, and they're about the size of my fist, so they're big.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's different qualities of ambergris, and Creed only puts the best stuff in. So I mean, when you smell the Aventus dry down, the GIT dry down, or even the Silver Mountain Water dry down, it is pure ambergris mixing with all of the other notes, and it has produced this just seawater, but like the one of the nicest dry downs I've ever smelled. Like, there's nothing comparable.
So what does it smell like? So this smells like
it's kind of like when you go into the ocean,
okay,
and then you have this lingering like sea salt type smell.
Yeah,
but it's like that, like on steroids, like times 20. You know, it's just
I see.
Yeah, like it's very hard to describe, and you'd have to smell ambergris in a base note to really understand why.
Let's just spray it right now.
But yeah, so I mean, I've got a couple here.
Pour some coffee greens.
Yeah, and the Killian one too, it does have amberoxan, which is a synthetic of ambergris. So the Sauvage has amberoxan too. So, you know, for brands that want the ambergris dry down, and they can't afford to put it in because they'd have to be a bit more pricey, even though the Killian is pricey. Brands like Sauvage for $122, you get a synthetic ambergris, which is amberoxan.
Yeah.
It does basically the same job, but honestly, it's still not comparable to the real thing.
Okay.
But it's what, you know, there's a lot of fragrances are using amberoxan to make it just be a steroid note, to make it boom on the skin, right? So,
then let's see what this smells like for the people that want to know.
Okay.
So I even from my perspective as someone who's completely new.
Yeah. This one's
smell.
out. Actually, yeah, but I do have some in my atomizer. Okay.
This one.
Yeah. So I do have a bit of Aventus in my atomizer. This is from a newer batch. I'd like to thank my twin brother for getting this one for the lad. So if you don't mind, just show me right here. This is my test driving spot on the skin. So I'm gonna let that soak in there. So you're going to just notice a mixture of different things with this fragrance on the skin. This is the Aventus by Creed.
Okay.
The batch is more modern. It's a 2018 batch. So this here was a 2014. Typically the 2014s in the 120 ml size, they were the most desired. And if you go online, they have risen in price significantly.
Okay.
So, you know, a bottle of this one here, and go ahead and smell and just tell me what your first impression is there. It takes a bit of time to dry down for the alcohol just to settle. But I mean, the true factor, what makes Creed, is when you smell it, you know, an hour, 2 hours later, and you're like, what the hell is this? You know?
Okay, let me see what it comes down to.
So while we're just, you know, figuring out the base notes, what I have brought in here is a Creed travel atomizer. Now, you don't have to buy a Creed atomizer, but me personally, because I love the brand, I decided to get one. But something like this is super important because in France, they're always spraying a fresh spray. So as you can see here, it has the removable, refillable inside, and then it's perfectly locked inside by a locking mechanism here. But this is something that goes in your jacket pocket. It's just something that
that's fire, dude.
Yeah, it's just something that you can just, you know, bring before you go to lunch, before you go on a date, or just to get a fresh spray of fragrance. Yeah, and it's just, you know, an atomizer is for something. It's for someone that wants to always smell refreshed and wants to, you know, have those top notes reapplied, because base notes are gorgeous and everyone loves them.
You know what this smells like, man?
What?
Like, honestly, from like a menswear perspective, I'll match this with like if you're getting to like an Aston Martin.
Yeah.
Going to like a banquet.
Yeah, brother. That's exactly how I see it.
In the middle of France, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Chopping in the sky.
Your description is virtually the same as mine. I always saw myself as driving a Lamborghini by the Italian coastline, and you know, I'm rich as hell. I've got my beautiful girl beside me, and
nothing else, man.
Yeah, man. It just installs this nostalgia in the head. It just makes you feel so like you just start dreaming about all the things you can do in life when you wear it. Yeah. And that's what makes it so...
How much you can conquer, too.
Yeah, man. That's
edgy.
Right? Yeah. It just gives you this confidence that is unmatched, and you can wear a Nike tracksuit, no Louis Vuitton, nothing. Yeah. But if you smell good like this, especially Creed Aventus...
You know you're the shit.
Well, not just that. You know what's up. But any girl that walks by, anyone that you interact with is going to have a memorable impression. It's going to be like, damn, like this guy is... Like, he smells fantastic.
That's real. That's real.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we know what that smells like from my perspective as well. Now let's get into those last two.
Yeah.
And then let's get into like more of us about your background and how you even got into this.
Yeah. So the GIT.
GIT.
The notes off the top of my head aren't too strong, but I know it has the ambergris base note. It's extremely well blended. But it's got more of, so it's kind of like Davidoff Cool Water, when that came out in the late 1990s, I believe.
Yeah.
You know, the Cool Water, it had a similar type. It's just really tough to explain.
No, let's do it. Let's just spray it on. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. As you can see, there we go. We got a little bit out.
You got some.
Yeah.
So I got some coffee grains.
Yeah.
It's Arabic coffee, by the way, guys.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you know, it's a taster's choice.
Not sponsored.
Not sponsored.
Not
but I mean,
yet.
Hey, a fresh cup. I mean, come on down, you know?
For sure. Okay, so this one you said is hard to describe.
Hard to describe. It's just super well blended, extremely masculine, confident as well. And it's dry down too. It's kind of like walking in Scotland by the countryside, and you get all this fresh, like it's like a fresh floral mixed with like an earthy tone, but it's sweet. It takes a different turn towards the base. You get the ambergris dry down. It's a very nice suit scent too.
Yeah.
It was made for James Dean. It was his signature scent. So it's very well done.
You know what this smells like?
Tell me.
It smells like it's like you're traveling like kind of like off road in Italy. Like there's like a flower garden or something.
Yes. Yeah.
And there's like a baker's farm on the side. This is the type of vibe I get, and it smells like more of a casual evening type of thing.
Right.
Not like the casual afternoon. I'll say that for sure. Yeah.
So
that's what that is.
Yes, and it's, you know what, this one for springtime, we're approaching that time of the season. Yeah. Fantastic. One of my favorite wears in the spring. This is more of a summertime, you know, you're at Cabana, you know, you're flexing out there. Flexing. Yeah, you don't just want to flex your muscles, you want to flex your scent. Yeah, you want this girl to walk by and like, what the hell are you wearing, you know? Come into my booth, girl, you know what I mean? Like, what's up? So that's this here. And then you've got Silver Mountain Water.
Let's do it.
Yeah, so the Silver Mountain Water was one of my personal favorites, and I don't know if we have any free real estate on the hands here.
Is there a way I can wipe it off, or like, should I? No, you can't.
We're gonna leave that to soak, bro. Creed is about.
What about the inside?
Yeah, inside's fine. Okay. Now the inside, I'm gonna see what I can get out of this. Yeah, this one's basically
How many bottles you go through?
I would say just smell it from the top, just because, well, yeah, so as you can see, like, these are some of my older batches. My newer ones, you know, like, I left those at home just because I didn't want to break one of these in the car and have to cry my way home. But I mean, yeah, so these ones here, yeah, these are my older batches. But I go through about, I'd say, a bottle of Creed. As you can see, they're 120 ml. But if you truly love something and every moment of the day you want to just keep smelling yourself because you're just so addicted, I mean, like, man, I've just got to kind of like, you know, I'm not wearing you today, you know what I mean? Like, I love you, but I
put it away.
Yeah, and even everywhere I go, when I work in specific places where I'm not allowed to wear Creed because they don't smell it.
Oh, sure.
Or sorry, they don't sell it. Sorry, I mean, they love to smell it.
Yeah. I can't get anything out of it.
Yeah. Oh no, that was one of my. See, I was an idiot. I would wear this all the time when I was playing, you know, I was, you know, running COD with the boys. For sure. And I just wanted to keep smelling my hand. I just wanted to keep feeling like I just love the scent. So
is it like more of an outback, like springtime smell, or
definitely a springtime wear? These are more spring summer. This is also a good summer's day. But it's kind of just like this, like, it's not like overpowering, but at the same time, it is one of the most smoothest scents to the nose I've ever smelled in my life. Like, the blending on it was fantastic. Black currant in here too, ambergris, tea as well. So it's very well done. Yeah, and like, I don't know, man, like, I loved it so much. I wore it too much on my own when I was by myself, and I was just like, you know, I wish there was someone that was gorgeous there to experience it with me. But hey, you know, I mean, you got to do what you got to do, you know. So I just I try to hide it on myself. But when you study, you wear it goes for any fragrance. You know, you can put it on your wrist as you're reading your notes, and then when you actually go to write the exam, you put the same fragrance on your same spot.
Yeah.
And as you're writing your exam, if there's anything that you need to memorize and regurgitate onto the paper, through smelling it, it's like when you smell a fragrance that one of your exes used to wear, and every time you smell it, it reminds you of them. It's the same principle, right? So it's just like scent is memory, and you want to memorize as much as you can while you're smelling something. So, I mean, when I've studied, I've done this in school. Oh, yes, it does work, because seriously, it's like you'll smell a specific fragrance or even a scent, and you'll be like, wow, like it's like a picture has been painted right in front of you.
Yeah,
right?
really, that's what I've been doing all the time.
Yeah.
My question is, to wrap this all up, for you, how did you get into colognes? Like, what was your entry point? Everyone goes through everything, like sometimes bad experiences. For me, I think back in high school, it was like those moments where a girl would say, "Oh, you smell." You know what I mean?
No one wants that.
You didn't put on deodorant, and plus it's like your first time experiencing body perspiration and shit.
No one grows up perfect.
Yeah. And that's part of life. So it's like, how did you get into the colognes? Was it, did you have a bad experience? Was it a good experience?
I was really into fragrance, and I always wanted to smell good, even from grade 9. Yeah. And I had a massive collection.
What made you get into fragrance?
To be fair with you, I don't know, just the desire to smell like to just smell fantastic, not to wear an Axe body spray, I wanted to I wanted to have an edge, you know what I mean? I did not want to be like blending in with the crowd. I wanted to be different, even from a young age, right? So,
you were talking about Axes, eh?
Yeah, man. Axe did a couple good ones, Vice, chocolate,
chocolate back in the day.
Yeah, wow. Man, I remember the compliments guys would get in elementary school and high school, early days, and they wore that. It does do the trick, and you don't want to wear nothing.
It was an overkill, though.
Yeah, because you know what? They are designed, and some master perfumers do help these brands make their scents, so they actually are there's quite a bit of depth into making these, but I mean, just something that sprays like that, that's, not real ingredients, very chemical. You want to wear something that's more natural, something that looks good on your dress, or something that's bougie, Someone comes over and like, damn, I love your collection of fragrance, right?
So that was your entry point, Axe body spray.
Yeah, of course.
So, after the Axe, what happened from there? What transitioned you,
Well, I mean, it took one stop in the Bay, meeting a nice, one of the nice ladies at the counter there. She saw I was interested, and she gave me a good experience, gave me some samples to try. It was just through noticing that fragrance can be, because every time I'd smell a fragrance, like let's say Yves Saint Laurent L'Homme back in the day, or, I'd smell it on myself and be like, wow, if someone were to be here to experience it with me, it would just be such a different experience. It would be more memorable. So it's all about being memorable, standing out, and no one forgetting your name. So, I mean, personally, I started off with all the basic ones. Chanel L'Homme Sport was my first, and I did get great compliments. I'm just not a Chanel guy, so that's why I struggle wearing it. But I mean, after I was sick and tired of all the mass market stuff, I'd say grade 11, I wanted to get some really, really good stuff, right? I took a trip to, and Creed was very hard to find, 7 years ago, only available in like one spot in Yorkdale, in Toronto. So I mean, when I did smell it and it was put on my hand, I could not stop thinking about how badly I wanted it, how badly I wanted to leave an impression of me wearing Creed everywhere I went, because I knew if I was just addicted to it, and just through me wearing it, I understood the hype. I'd see videos online on YouTube. Guys like, oh, Creed Aventus is the best. And I'm like, well, I can't find it in Oakville. I'm just going to disregard it, right? Shit. So, but when I actually did smell it, I was like, oh my God, I would trade all my 10 fragrances for this one fragrance to wear this every single day.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so I mean, Creed really stuck out for me, and it was just, like I said, you want to be remembered, and you want to leave a very impactful impression in someone's mind, and fragrance is the way to do it. Especially Creed's, even this Killian here, Vodka on the Rocks. It has the Ambergris base note, very well done, made from the founder. So the founders of Hennessy, his son is, so
I fuck with Hennessy anyway.
Yeah, so, man, who doesn't like a good bottle? Long day of work, you crack open a quick one, right?
Yeah.
More than a couple shots. Once it's open, it's getting finished.
You like it? Do you like it on the rocks or something?
Yeah, you throw it on the rocks. I mean,
that's why
you want to taste it, right? You don't want to. You can. I don't know.
You have to let it bask.
Yeah.
You throw on the rocks, and then for me, with Hennessy, I let it bask. I know we're talking about alcohol, but now
there's alcohol in the fragrance, so I mean,
yeah. But I think just let it bask, and I just Hennessy for me was something like, it was, I think it was something that had something to do with the tonality of the taste that really drew me into it over time. Not just of like the culture of it.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think it did something different. You know
Absolutely.
what I mean? And I think even with colognes, that's why I even look for.
Yeah.
Like you always look for something that's completely different. And, dude.
Especially millennials, man. They all want clout. They all want to, everyone's trying to flex all this stuff. And you know what?
Yeah.
Like, I can't tell anyone what to do because I love to flex, when I'm wearing my Creed on my neck. I want people to know I'm wearing it. It's not like I bought it just for my, So it's 100%. Just like, but at the end of the day, I didn't just buy this fragrance here because of its price point. I bought it because it seriously was the best smelling juice. Yeah. And a modern misconception people have, especially millennials, oh, the bottle's not nice, I don't want it.
For sure.
You know what I mean? But it's like, no. It's like, are you going to walk around everywhere you go and hold the bottle in your hand like this? And like, this is what I'm wearing. You see how nice the number 5 bottle is?
For sure. Yeah.
No, like, you know what I mean? Your fragrance is for when someone comes over and they see it on the dresser, or for every morning when you see it. That's when the bottle counts.
And then it's...
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, like...
I see what you said.
I wouldn't say... So I wouldn't say this...
This is for the presentation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, this may have a magnetic cap, and it may it may look like, Bill Nye the Science Guy made it, but I mean, what?
Like, it's for the presentation.
Yeah, it's just,
Dude, I appreciate you doing this video, and, for anyone who's watching, for people who are going to be watching, make sure to see our, maybe top 7 or videos. It's going to be linked up into the tag up above, but look into that just to understand the order of the top best colognes, Zach picked out, and he's gonna educate you guys on. So most and foremost, thanks, bro, for having us.
Thank you. Really appreciate you having me out here.
Likewise, bro.
Thank you.
Yeah, man.